in the IT world, right, there was always a disconnect between the end user and the administrator. And so being a young, IT person, I had that relationship with the end user. And so the end user would actually come to me and say, "Hey, can you go talk to the developer? Can you go talk to the programmer and let them know that I need this report? Because every time I go, they yell at me."
Welcome to the Roll Up and Roll Out podcast. Sit down with blue-collar business owners and inspired entrepreneurs to get the industry insights from the leaders that grow our local communities and learn how to scale your business. Regardless of GED, these people know how to GSD. Here is your host, Paul Childers. Let's get to work.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Roll Up and Roll Out, where we are interviewing business owners who may or may not have their GED, but every single one of them knows how to GSD, get shit done. Today we have Adalfo Ayala with Active Networks. Adolfo, thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you being on here. Introduce yourself real briefly and just give me a little bit of your background.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Paul. Glad to be here. So Adolfo, I am born and raised in San Fernando Valley in California, Los Angeles, and I've been in the technology field since the late 1990s, so 97 to be exact. I run a integration company, technology integration company, Active Networks, and we focus on home and business automation, making technology work for you.
What got you into the technology sector, and how old were you when you started kind of diving into and figuring out that this was something you enjoyed?
So, frankly, what got me into it is I was always, even as a kid, right? I was always interested in technology, on like why people were on TV, why people were stuck in radio. So if I had a screwdriver, I was opening up the equipment, right? I didn't put it back together because I didn't know how, but I always wanted to rescue the people that were inside of it. And so when I got the opportunity out of high school to go to tech school, I ran to it, and they were soldering boards and doing whatnot, and I was like, "That's it. That's what I want to do." And so that's what prompted the career.
That's awesome. No, I think it's funny, I was kind of the same way with stuff, as I could take it apart, but then my dad would get really annoyed because I could never figure out how to put it back together. So that's when I realized that being a mechanic probably wasn't in my future. So, but so you've been in it since the late 90s. Have you always, like, how long have you been running your own business for in that time span? And then, off of that, were there any other family members that, predated you that were entrepreneurs, or were you kind of one that just progressed into that field naturally with your passion of wanting to work with the technology side of things?
So that's interesting. So I started I founded the company in 2006. I worked for a Fortune 500 company for about 8 years, and absolutely loved it until we got very corporate. It got actually purchased by a corporation, and we lost that connectivity to the owner, and I had to jump through hoops just to buy a cable, to be frank. And so I hated it. I actually was on a plane back to California when I decided there's got to be more than the 8 to 5. And I started spinned off the business. I wanted to just do B2B. I essentially came back and talked to my boss and said, "Hey, where do you see me in the next 5 years?" He said, "In my seat." I said, "No, thanks. Here's my resignation." Um, and as far as I'm probably the first in my immediate, well, I am the first in my immediate family to be an entrepreneur. I didn't have the schooling behind it. I didn't know what I was doing. I just kind of jumped in with 2 feet and said, "Hey, I'm going to go out and try to get some business, and hopefully this works. And if it doesn't work, I'll always come back to corporate world."
Yeah, that's interesting. When companies get to a certain point, and this happens a lot, is they tend to, which understandably so, corporatize a little bit. And I think sometimes when that happens, they lose focus on their core of things that got them to that point, which is that connectivity, the face-to-face relationships, and being a business owner myself, like I totally understand the why for some of them to want to do that. But like for me, and I'm guessing probably for you as you've grown your company too, I feel like it's important for me to keep that pulse on the business as I grow and scale it as well, because that relationship that you have with employees and clients is super important. Is that a big part of like your business model now? Is that some of the core values that you brought over when you left that place? Like tell me about what you pulled from the previous job that you really loved before it turned sour and applied to your own business now.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things is, in the IT world, right? There was always a disconnect between the end user and the administrator. And so being a young, IT person, I had that relationship with the end user. And so the end user would actually come to me and say, "Hey, can you go talk to the developer? Can you go talk to the programmer and let them know that I need this report? Because every time I go, they yell at me and they make me feel really dumb." And so, I would be the person in the middle, advocating for the end user. I would bring the chocolate and the Dr. Pepper and sit with them and make short conversation. And so when I left, that was absolutely the number one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to, um, bridge that gap between end user and tech, and never make somebody feel small, because they don't know something. So, not having to use, large words, like, how many megabytes you have or terabytes, just talking to people like normal, so that they really understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how is it going to benefit them in the future.
Yeah, the tech world, especially in the mid 2000s, when it really like when Silicon Valley really blew up, became notorious for acronyms and talking above their clients. And it was almost like for some of them, it was almost like a point of pride, to have all the knowledge and stuff. And it's like, that's great. But if you can't translate that to really basic understandings, like when I talk to somebody that is building me something that is advanced and I don't understand it, I always tell them, like, talk to me like I'm three, right? Like just bare boneless stuff. I don't care about your acronyms. I don't care about all the fancy jargon. Just talk to me like you're explaining this to a 3 year old. So that's cool that that's something that you brought over. As you've grown, what does that look like to you as you've grown your own business? Have you kind of, held on to a lot of those core values as you've grown it as well? Have you had to make some changes as some stuff has come up? Like how has that kind of looked for you as you scale?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one of the biggest things is, originally when I just started, it was about making money, right? So it became very transactional, right? So even though I had a connection with the client, it was very transactional. It was, how much money can I make? How much can I sell them? But it was always making sure that what I sold them was beneficial to them, right? Not what I just wanted to sell them. And so as the business progressed, what I realized was relationship was more important than the transaction, right? And today, 17 years in business, I still have clients from day one that still do business with us today. And so, I took that and really changed the trajectory of our business, right? By doing that same relationship with our employees, with our staff, right? We're all a team, right? We win together and we learn together. And taking that to the next level has allowed us to create legacies, not only for the company, but for each other and for each other's family. And really make an impact in everybody's life.
Yeah. So tell me about that dynamic a little bit, as you've added more employees, like what has been your key to success to making sure that those standards are being met and practiced by, when you hire somebody new, what does that process look like to make sure that your culture is being protected? Like, you know, tell me a little bit about that process and how you've developed and learned from some mistakes there.
Yeah, so it's a work in progress for sure. It's truly understanding the individual, right? With so much stuff in front of us today, like social media and whatnot, we go into their, Instagram, Facebook, and kind of see the person, right? Because in the interview, they give us, what they know, the experience that they have, they might even give us their core values, their personal core values, and we try to see how they align with our core values. Um, but we take it to the next level, right? So number one, we really hire from within, so referrals mostly. Um, and then we try to find stuff on social media, like, what do they like? What is their, days look like? What are they sharing? Are they a Sour Patch? Are they just, even just say, like, those like, Yelp, are they just rating bad reviews on everybody that, and they have 0 good reviews? Like, you kinda get their character at that point.
Yep.
But again, it's a work in progress, and, there's been a lot of people that have come along, our doors that don't last, because our core values just don't align, and it goes beyond our staff. It actually goes into our clients, right? We also wanna make sure that our clients, align, with our core values, right? And if something like integrity is missing, we'll cut ties with the client, just as much as we would with a staff member.
Yeah, that part to me, as a relatively new business owner, has been really important. Is that relationship standpoint with my clients? It's definitely something that you're right. When you first start off, I think everybody chases the dollar a little bit because you have to, right? Like that's your income. That's how you provide. So there is a little bit of that happening. But what I've found, and just through my experience in sales, whether that's been in automotive or more corporate sales, is that relationships and your ability to build really strong relationships will prevail 99 out of 100 times versus people that are just hustling and chasing cash, right? Because that relationship money is like it's almost like it's like just cycles, right? It just comes back, it comes back, it comes back, and then guess what? They're bringing more people, they're referring people to you, and it just stacks. And so there's a lot of value that I think is provided there, and that's one of the probably the fastest lessons I learned was relationships and taking care of people, even if it means that they don't pay you right now immediately, go a lot longer and a lot further than just trying to chase that dollar. So when you had that that mindset shift away from chasing the dollar to the relationship piece, did you notice a difference immediately, or did it take a little bit for you to start seeing the effects of that come back around and help you?
No, it definitely took some time, and, there was a big dip in business, right? Because we stopped doing business with people that were, bringing in a lot of revenue for us, but, it was a toxic relationship, right? And, when we made the choice, I have a business partner, so when we sat down and made the choice, we're no longer gonna work with these folks, there was a huge dip in business, and we had to pivot and make changes in our world as well, to ensure that we could continue to be successful. But, you know, again, it's one of those things. I just heard recently, you know, you know, even time takes time, right? And so we fast forward and rewind don't work in life, don't work in business, but, we make changes and we wanna hit that fast forward button. We wanna get there as fast as possible, and the truth is we just have to let time do its thing, continue to be consistent, and continue to show up, right? And be, you know, be whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish, and make deposits on a daily basis. But, it was definitely a struggle for sure.
Yeah, yeah, consistency over time is probably one of the hardest concepts I think for people to grasp. Probably one of the easiest concepts, but it's one of the hardest ones to continuously do all the time, right? Like you hit the nail on the head about that, which is I heard I can't remember who it was, but I heard somebody say like our life is both the longest and the shortest thing that we are ever going to experience. And that coincides with that, about time is time can feel really short, but it's also one of the longest things that we experience as well. So, being consistent and staying on top of it, knowing that that consistency is going to compound and the rewards will come is it's hard. I think patience, waiting for the payout when you're doing stuff like that, is where a lot of business owners, especially startups, end up not making it because they don't lack the perseverance. Or I don't know, in my case, I consider myself stupid sometimes because of putting myself through this, but I don't know what your experience is, but you definitely have to be stubborn, right? You have to know what you want. So when you shifted and you guys were going through that period of that dip, I'm guessing that financially there were some times and stretches where you were wondering if this was worth it, if you were going to make it. Like, what kept you going through that time period and continuing to just stay the path that you were on?
I mean, frankly, dude, even 17 years later, I still wonder sometimes, is this is this worth it? Do we continue? Uh, but because, it's not, my business partner tells me all the time, like, if this was if this was easy, everyone would be doing it, right? So yeah, you definitely hit points in time where you really question, should I even continue, or what's the point of continuing? And for me, it's being able to serve others, right? Being able to serve our team, knowing that their families are counting on us to ensure that they have jobs, and our clients, right? Again, building that relationship. Our clients are looking at us, for more than just their AV or IT needs. They're looking at us as a resource, right? If they need a painter, if they need a plumber, if they need whatever services, they reach out to us and say, "Hey, do you have somebody in your network that you like, know, and trust?" And so, that's really what keeps me going, right? Is being able to serve others in the highest level, and the money will come. I always tell people, right? Like, if you're chasing money, and we all have, right? You're going to be chasing your tail forever, right? If you find your purpose, your why, right, then money will come because it comes and goes, right? And that's not even your concentration. One day you make $1 million and you do it without blinking because it wasn't the concentration. It wasn't your finish line, right? And so, when you don't really have a finish line because you want to serve, yeah, I think it makes a big difference. But yeah, definitely is something that crosses my mind occasionally still.
Yeah, I've heard a few different variations of it, but Brandon Bittenham, he does some real estate stuff. He's got some social media presence. I kind of follow him. He made a comment to post of like, if at least once a week or once a month you don't want to just blow everything up and go work at McDonald's, are you really entrepreneuring? Like, man, there's a lot of truth to that, right? It's,
Absolutely. Absolutely. The beauty of it is if you blow it all up, so, like, we've literally said this to our team, right? Like, we are willing to burn it all down and take that risk, because when you're willing to do that, that's when you grow. That's when you're not afraid to take that next leap of faith, right? And so, sometimes people are always like, "Well, I'm comfortable right now. I don't need to hire people, or I don't need to grow. I don't need to buy the next truck," or whatever the case may be. It's because we're all afraid of the unknown, right? And when you're okay with the unknown blowing up in your face and saying, "I don't have to start over. I just continue from where I left off," right? Because I have those relationships. So whether I'm selling solar, AV, carpet cleaning, I could go to my clients and say, "Hey, I was very passionate about AV, but guess what? I could really clean your carpets now. Like, I've done all this research," and you know what I mean? Because they know and like me and trust me. And so for us, it's not starting over. It's continuing from where we left off.
yeah, it's we're all gonna fail. However you want to use that word, but even from the time that I was playing sports, I remember back to like fifth grade pee wee football, like the coach always telling you, if you're gonna fall forward, right? Like the same thing in life, like in business, like you're gonna fall. So make sure you fall forward. And if you fall forward and you continue to do that over and over again, you're still making progress. It may not feel like it some days, but you are. You may be battered and bruised, but you still made it further than most people would through that process. The last question I've got for you here before we wrap it up is, as you've scaled and hit these new levels, what are some things that you've done personally to make sure that you were able to have the capacity to level up with your company?
So one of the biggest things is understanding that you don't have to do it alone. And I think that as an entrepreneur, it's definitely a lonely journey, right? But we make it a lonely journey because we feel like and we have to wear all the hats at, at a certain point, but we feel like it's if it's not done by me, it's not done correctly. And so one of the biggest things that I think I changed pretty early on was, bringing in a business partner, right? Understanding where his capacity was, where he could have gone and started his own company and I would help him, or we could grow this to the next level together, right? And continuing that on, right? Because I don't know everything, right? I know how to run a, you know, 4, 5, $8 million company, but I don't know how to run a $30 million company. And, understanding that where your limitations are and where you excel and making sure that you don't, surpass that. So for me, it's like understanding where is my 100%, right? I can't give you 110, doesn't exist. I can only give you 100,
Yep.
right? And anything over that, I'm really doing a disservice to you and to our company. And so I think that was one of the biggest things, um, one of the biggest shifts, and we continue to make that today. We're willing to bring in a third and a fourth, partner if needed, so that we could continue to take this to the next level. And frankly, really do what business owners, what we intended to do from the beginning, which was spend time with the people that you were doing all this for, right? Um, at the end of the day, I think our family gets the short end of the stick, um, because our clients get the best of us, our employees get the best of us. We stay calm and relaxed, from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and we get home and very short fused. And it was a long day. Don't ask me any questions. And so it's really buying back that time and enjoying the time for the people that you say you're doing all this for.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you taking time to join the podcast today. So again, thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. And I don't mind if I continue to use this GED and GSD, get shit done, because I think that we could all definitely get shit done. So I appreciate you having me, man, uh and good luck with all your endeavors. I'm I'm reading all about your business, your online blue sky business solution. So
Yeah.
I have to chat about that as well.
And then real fast here, so I can post it up afterwards too. If somebody wants to reach out about your services, what's the best way for them to find you, man?
Yeah, the best way to find us is Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, at Active Networks LLC. Again, that's at Active Networks LLC with an S. Um, here for all your technology needs.
Cool, man. Thanks again.
Thanks, Bob. Appreciate it.